Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Rich Sports Talk. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Make sure to bash that like button, give us a subscribe. And if you're new to the channel, make sure to check out our community page. And of course, comment to see what type of videos you would like me to make next. We're going to switch it up. We know we primarily talk a lot of New York Jets and football on this podcast, but I'm trying to also expand to baseball. I've done videos in the past year, and I really love Major League Baseball, and I think that there is a fascinating storyline going on right now, and in a storyline that I think is getting overlooked. And that's one thing I love to talk about on this channel, and I love to go back and forth with you. And if you're joining us during this live stream, of course, make sure to reach out in those comments and let us know what you have to say. So there is a lot going on this week with the Grimace Mets, the Yankees struggling, and the Subway Series, which in a microcosm was basically the Mets bullying the New York Yankees and punking them at Citi Field. Now, I tend to be someone in this industry that I look for the bigger story. I try to look at the big picture. And baseball is a really unique sport because baseball is both a microverse and a macroverse. Let me explain. Micro, where you have everything day to day, month to month, full season, and macro, the big picture, long term years, because baseball is very unique. In football, kids get drafted, they're going to be on that roster day one. Major League Baseball is a great example. Kid gets drafted, you might not see him in the majors for 3, maybe even 4 years. So there's different timelines for every player and organization. And one of the big things that's going on right now is, of course, the hot takes. The Yankees struggling right now. Have the Yankees hit that June swoon? We've seen it the last couple of years. The Yankees get off to a red hot start and then play sub 500 baseball to the postseason, which I know a lot of fans are dreading. But there's something going on that has never happened in this town before. And it's going to get even bigger this offseason. But it is the Juan Soto sweepstakes, because we have never had a situation like this before in my lifetime, certainly between the Mets and the New York Yankees. Because we all know the Yankees are the big spenders historically. They're the guys that are going to give out the big contracts. They're the Yankees. While the Mets, for God knows how long, were always the bargain hunters. They couldn't afford to play and swing the money around with the New York Yankees until Steve Cohen bought the team a couple of years ago. And it's almost seemed a bit of like a role reversal. The Mets are spending a ton of money where the Yankees have been a little bit more frugal with their money. But it's clear that Juan Soto has been someone that Steve Cohen has had an eye on. And really, this is going to be the first time I can remember these two teams really going after a free agent. Now, I know a lot of people saying, well, wait, what about the Yamamoto sweepstakes last year? It just felt to me like, yes, the Yankees and the Mets were in it, but it was clear that he wanted to play for the Dodgers, where I think Soto, it's going to come down to these two teams. And if I'm a Yankee fan, I would be incredibly nervous because Juan Soto made a point. He wasn't asked, but he made a point to say how great the atmosphere at Citi Field was. He made a point to go over and talk to a lot of Met fans during his stay over in Queens. Now, could this be him trying to get Mets to bid up the price? Certainly. It's a smart move on his part. But if you are in the Yankee organization, you have to be worried right now because Juan Soto is someone that's going to test the market, and he's earned that right. But all of a sudden, for the first 3 months of the season, it didn't seem like a contest. The Yankees were the better team. They're historically the better organization. The only thing the Mets seemingly had was cash. And again, money is a nice thing to have, but I think for a lot of Met fans, the hope was to get this team to a point where they were viable. They were a team that could compete for a postseason spot because it's clear this was a step back rebuilding year. But in a weird way, look attractive to Juan Soto in the offseason. Hey, we're really a big piece away from really being a great team in the National League. And right now, the Mets are right in the thick of the wild card race. The National League is not a great league, but the Mets are back to 500. They're playing great baseball. And the thing that also has really intrigued me is the Yankees once again find themselves in the same old Yankee problem where they get hurt. They're an older team. They don't look athletic. They're having trouble bringing up and developing their own talent. And really, if Aaron Judge and Juan Soto aren't superheroes, this team isn't scoring runs. And if you're Juan Soto, you have to ask yourself, yes, there is that prestige with the Yankees that you will never get with the Mets, and I understand that. But if you're Juan Soto and you look across the river in Queens, and you look and saying, wow, this team really wasn't trying to compete. They were looking to take a step back, but they have a young, budding superstar catcher named Francisco Alvarez. They have a great shortstop and Francisco Lindor, who, since being put in the one spot, has played like the best shortstop in the National League. And it's not just my thought. Look at the numbers. They have Pete Alonso. Now, again, a question mark if he's back or not. And if they give Juan Soto a massive contract, maybe he's gone. But they also have Mark Vientos, a young, controllable slugger who looks like a really good bat. Like, the Mets have some good young pieces and younger prospects still on the way. And they're a team that really wasn't supposed to be competing this year, but they have this energy around them. They have this fun atmosphere around them. They're a team that has a good lineup, and I can make the case 1 through 9. I think the Mets have a deeper batting order than the Yankees do. I think that top talent, I certainly think the Yankees do. And I understand the idea of having that protection in Aaron Judge. You're not going to get a better protector than Aaron Judge in a lineup. But here's the thing. If the Mets add Juan Soto, I still think they can add other pieces. They still have other pieces on the way in the youth movement, but they still can add other pieces in free agency. Where if the Yankees sign Juan Soto, that's the move. This is the roster. You're not moving Stanton, who's constantly getting hurt and is hurt once again. Like, the Yankees just feel kind of trapped. And like, this is their team. And this really is the year they went all in. The Mets did not go all in on this year. And they are showing a feisty team that's looking to win. The Yankees are all in on this season. And you're looking at the pitching. You're looking at the development. You're looking at Gleyber Torres. And look, there's just something in this locker room, for as bad as it got with the Mets. And let's be honest, May was absolutely horrendous and caused God knows how many migraines for Mets fans. And yes, they did have some issues with a certain reliever in the locker room. But it felt like this locker room with the Mets is a lot tighter. Like, they are all in together. Like, they are a cohesive unit. Where you saw it the other night with the Yankees. Gleyber Torres is becoming a problem. You even saw Marcus Stroman on the mound yelling at him to throw the damn ball, and that's a nice way of saying it, to first base to get Vladdy Guerrero. Now, I think the Yankees, if I'm honest, have to make a statement at the trade deadline. I think that they have to make a move to show Juan Soto that they are in this not just for this year, but also for the long haul. How do they do it? What prospects do they have to give up? What player do they bring in? I don't know. But if the Yankees just accept the status quo and just go through it and just get to the postseason, and if they don't get the postseason success that they are looking for, you have a lot of questions around this team. And they are tough questions, and they're uncomfortable questions. They're questions that you just look at and you go, man, Drones, my man. What's up, Drones? Yeah, I'm a Met fan. I'm a Mets and Jets fans. Unfortunately, I guess I'm just a glutton for punishment in terms of basically my fandom. But look, I think that this series is kind of a microcosm of that. It feels like the Mets are a team that's at least going in the right direction with David Stearns, with this front office. And you look at the Yankees, and it feels like we have seen this movie over and over and over again. A team that gets off to a great start. They bury their competition early. And then mid-season, these older war horses start to get injured and start to go down, and they don't have great replacements, and they don't have good prospects that have come up and to step up. And then all of a sudden you're looking around and you're going, well, if Aaron Judge and Juan Soto aren't scoring, no one is scoring. And it just feels like we have seen the script over and over and over again. And that's why I think there's a lot of frustration and anger from Yankee fans right now. And I get it because they've seen this story over and over and over again. And I get it. If you're a fan and it happens once, it's tough, but you can tend to move on. But if the story keeps having the same conclusion and it feels like it's Groundhog Day all over again, I absolutely get the frustration. Seeing a couple guys in the live stream. Let's see. Yuki. Hi, Yuki. How you going? Great for you to join the channel. If you have any questions, let me know. I mean, my thoughts are, of course, who would have thought that Grimace would be the one to turn around the Mets season? Although I have to give this lineup credit, and I have to give David Stearns a lot of credit for the Mets because I think he's built a very good lineup. And it is clear to me that the team finally has a leader on this team. And it's more impressive because of his age, and it's Francisco Alvarez. And I think they've missed that fiery leader that just really pushes over the edge. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of going back to the mid-2000s, Paul Duca. I remember the influence Paul Duca had on this team being that fiery leader behind the plate, and it had an impact on guys like David Wright and Jose Reyes, who at the time were really good players, but probably weren't ready to lead. And as much as I love Alonso, it just doesn't seem like Pete Alonso's the lead. He's a lead by example type of guy. He's not the rah-rah leader where I think Lindor has tried to step in and be more of a CEO type of team leader. But Alvarez has brought such a dynamic and fire to this team that is just contagious. And it's fun seeing him being able to make an impact. It's fun seeing Mark Vientos finally getting an opportunity, a full-time opportunity, and is making the absolute most of it. And look, if I'm the Mets, Vientos is now in the long-term plans. Is it the full-time third baseman? I don't know. Is it a hybrid third or first baseman in case they lose Pete Alonso next year? Maybe. Could it be the full-time DH? Although if this team is really good and JD Martinez wants another one-year contract, I wouldn't put it past him. He has been a really good influence on this team and has been such an impactful player. Jeff McNeil, bring out of his slump. If yes, should we trade him or keep him? Here's my thoughts. If Jeff McNeil is coming out of his slump, I still would trade him. That is a huge contract. Just the consistency. I don't trust the consistency with McNeil. And the other thing, too, is the Mets' bigger prospects, I think, would take roles away from Jeff McNeil. It just feels like Luis Angel Acuna and also some of the other guys coming up would be in the way. Another question, can the Mets win 90? I love the optimism. I think 85 to me is a good number. 85 to me is a number where I think it's achievable. It's slightly over 500. Look, the Mets have been red hot, but we've also seen this team be extremely streaky. I mean, we remember they started the season 0-5. Then they went on a run. Then they kind of petered out. Then they had the terrible May. Now they've had the hot June. Like, I do think you're going to see another kind of, not a swoon, but you're going to see another like 30-game stretch where maybe they're 12-18 and it's not great. But I do think 90 is on the table now that they're back to 500. But I think this team's goal should be 86, 85 wins. I think that puts you right in that sweet spot for the last wild card. And look, this National League is wide open, and you look, even some of the top teams are vulnerable. I mean, Bryce Harper getting hurt the other day in Philadelphia, Acuna out again for the Braves. I mean, there are teams, even the best teams in the National League, they don't look invulnerable. I mean, the best team's the Dodgers, but you know, you tackle that beast when you can. Do the Mets really need Juan Soto? JDM is just as good. JDM. Who's JDM? Just clarify JDM, just so I don't misinterpret it. But look, Juan Soto to me is the best hitter on this planet. Now, could you say Aaron Judge and Pete Alonso more power? Sure, but in terms of the whole package, I think he is the best hitter on the planet. Now, is he the best defensive outfielder? Probably not. We saw some of the faux pas that he has in the game, but given his age, given that he's younger, that he's still in his 20s, like to me, if you weren't going to get Shohei Ohtani, like this to me is the best player that's going to be available for a long time and really a difference maker at the major league level, and such a big bat and such a bat that is you can stick in the middle of the order and you know exactly what you're going to get. And look, Yuki, you clarified that it was JD Martinez. Look, I think he's been great in the DH spot, but Juan Soto, you look at this outfield, like if you put him out there with Nimmo and then you figure out center field with one of the kids coming up, or maybe another year of Harrison Bader, that's a good lineup. And you want to talk about consistency is one of the hardest things in baseball to really accomplish. And really, Juan Soto has just been a model of consistency. I mean, he's a 4-time Silver Slugger. He's won a batting title as a left-handed bat. And I mean, look, he's going to be 26 years old next year. I mean, you don't get guys in their mid-20s. Usually they're in their 30s. It's kind of like the Alonso situation where you have someone in their 30s and you're going, okay, we give him an 8-year contract. How many more great years is he really going to have? And you just look at Soto. I mean, he is just as consistent of a player, like as you could possibly get. I mean, we talk about that phrase, the back of the baseball card, the back of the baseball card. He's someone that hits for high average. He's someone that gets on base a lot. I mean, he basically lifetime 286 hitter. In today's game, that's unheard of. He's someone that's bashed 180 home runs, driven in over 500. And again, he's only going to be 26 years old at the start of next season, which I do think is something that you definitely have to consider going into next year. And look, I just look at this last season. This last series against the Yankees, and basically Juan Soto saying how great the atmosphere at Citi Field, how much energy there is at Citi Field. You look at the young team, like right now, if you were to say what is a better prospect for Juan Soto winning a championship in the next year or two, it's the Yankees. But if he's going to sign a massive long-term 8-year contract, what's the better long-term option? It's probably the Mets. Because the other thing, too, is Stanton got hurt, but Aaron Judge also gets hurt. Aaron Judge, if God forbid Aaron Judge gets hurt and has to miss some time this year, you just feel like the whole Yankee lineup is just going to have a massive downturn. And then all that pressure is going to go to Juan Soto. And I do think he can provide and still be a good bat, but you just look at this Yankee lineup right now, and it's just frustrating. Like you saw it the other night, just to get runs, like Aaron Judge is trying to force a rundown just to create more run opportunities. And you look at this Mets offense, it's been great the last month of the season. They've been consistent. They've been able to put the ball in play. They've been able to not just live and die by the home run ball, but they're getting a lot of extra base hits. They're getting on base. They're making it hard for teams to really bat down. Look, they've had their injuries too. I mean, Marte's been a good bat in that lineup. He goes down. Mets seemingly don't miss a beat. I mean, Jeff McNeil has not lived up to his baseball card. They've gone by with Iglesias, and even in a contract year. I mean, Pete Alonso hasn't been horrible this year, but Pete Alonso hasn't played at what many, I think, were expecting from him, or many feel is his expectation. So I just look at this whole microcosm of this season. This year would be fascinating for baseball in New York because it's really the first time that you have both teams, are going to go after one guy. And they're trying to make their case. And the Yankees, we know, they have the hardware, they have the championship pedigree, they have their history, they can offer a good amount of money. And meanwhile, the Mets, we know they can offer the most, but really it's going to come down to what team is going to look more appealing long-term. And look, for the first 3 months of the season, it was the Yankees. Now, all of a sudden, you're seeing the problem the Yankees have always had over the last couple of years, which is aging superstars that break down, a team that's not really athletic, a team that's struggling to develop young talent. And you look across the bay, And you see the Mets, Mark Vientos is looking like a really good player. The Mets have some good young prospects coming up. You look at Francisco Alvarez. He is a budding superstar in this league. And you go, okay. And then you look at the moves that David Stearns made. A lot of under the radar moves that he made. Luis Severino's been a really good pickup. Harrison Bader's been a really good pickup. Sure, he's had some misses, but for the most part, he's done a really good job filling out a roster on a limited budget and a team that they didn't want to go over the cap on. And really, when you look at Cashman, you look at that lineup they've built, they're kind of trapped with the Stanton contract. They're trapped with all these big contracts. And you kind of look around and you're going, well, they have any kids coming up? Nothing really exciting. So it just feels like the Mets have a better long-term runway, and there's a chance that both these teams could be in the postseason. If the Mets can get the postseason this year with a team that they were just kind of in a rebuilding mode, I think that is going to really help their chances of wooing Juan Soto. Thank you all for joining us here on Rich Sports Talk. We'll have more great sports content on the way. If there's any kinds of videos you'd like to see, maybe you like top 10 lists, let us know in the comments below, and we will provide them. If you're new to the channel, check out our community page for great fun polls and also ideas for future videos. And of course, if you're new to the channel, give us a like and hit that subscribe button. But until next time, I'm your host, Nolan Rich, and this is Rich Sports Talk.